quick one right here. I ain't gonna be on that long. So, renting for your life. Right now, I've been seeing a lot of rants coming from TikTok, YouTube, even Facebook, where a lot of people are disgusted with the rent prices. Even if you have A1 credit, it still it still comes to the point of you and being able to afford a house depending on the mortgage. So there are some things that you're going to have to learn in order to get over that curve. One is making enough money. You can have an 800 credit score, but if you don't make enough money, you can't afford the house, that your dream house especially. On average, most people typically have to get a starter home. And what's a starter home? Starter home is something that's livable, might need a little work, but at the same time, is yours. Going into a starter home, you might have laminate floors, not tile in the kitchen. You might have carpet throughout the house. It's cheaper, and might not even have the best carpet. They have something called a burr carpet that they use typically in, like high traffic areas. Most offices have burr carpet because, it's kind of thick, and then at the same time, it's better for that company to have that type of carpet because it cuts down on the traffic area to where it's almost like a rug. And getting into that, just going through the motions, you might don't have the best of light in that house. The walls are not as good, needs to be painted. Or they probably painted the house, did the best they could to make it look good. But in all, they're just trying to get rid of the house because it's cheap. There are a couple of things that might need to be fixed on the inspection, and the homeowner might throw a couple off just to sell the house. So you might say, I'll knock $5,000 off if you do this and do that. But typically, that's what happens when you get into a starter home. It's not that expensive, so there are going to be some things that you can, kind of bump on the price. But like I say, getting into it, a lot of people complain about this rent. Like, the rent is atrocious right now. Like, getting into an apartment, you have to make 3 times the rent. On average, most people make about, what's going on? Yo, boy, what's going on? Most people typically make about anywhere from 5 to 1,000. Let's say 5 to 1,000 a week. Let's say rent on the property is, let's say 1,500. No, let's go with 1,800. Make it a little more. Let's go with 1,800. 1,800 a month. You got 1,800 a month. Let's see this. 300 is 9. 9 and 5. 4. So that's 24. You're around. You have to make at least. Hold on. See, 18. 34. Yeah. You have to make $3,400 a month to pay for a $1,800, dollar a month. So when you start doing the math, people who make around 1,000 a week, they barely, hitting that scale. Ruby, what's going on? To the people that actually come in and you're making 500, you can't qualify for it. I mean, honestly, no joke. I didn't move out the house till I pretty much end up dealing with my wife and we end up getting married. Honestly, there was no need for me. I worked out of town I didn't really need a place just to put my stuff, and I'm going out of town all the time. So why would I go, get an apartment, pay all this money just to house my stuff when I can stay home, house my stuff there and I'm good? So a lot of typical times, you'll get people, they want to, keep up with the Joneses, as they say. You want to get an apartment, you want to get a nice car, you want to take pictures. Social media has ruined a lot of people with that. Doing all this, and at the end of the day, who you impressing? All you're impressing is other people who don't even have money themselves. So you putting yourself more into debt to look good for somebody that probably don't even know you. And the ones that do know you, they're struggling, but they're trying to keep up with you, not knowing that you don't have it all. So, my advice to a lot of people, stay home. If you stay with your parents, stay with your grandma, somebody, family members, stay there, get your money together, and then try to go buy you a house. Even with renting, go in with family members. I got 2 other brothers. I can go rent an apartment or rent a house with my brothers versus me trying to do everything myself. Now that I'm married, so I have a house, everything, but it was the whole thing of looking. I've rented apartments, I've rented houses. Renting a house got so outrageous. I was like, first renting an apartment was outrageous. So I was like, you might as well rent a house. Go rent a house because we didn't qualify for a house at the time. Just some things on your credit you got to get fixed. I mean, that's always the case when you're doing. Maria, what's going on? What's going on? Good vibes. What's going on? But when you're renting a house, it's lovely. But then it gets to a point where they're going up on that rent, and you're like looking like, hey, I'm paying $1,800 to rent this property, and I could be paying $1,200 to own this property. But that's the thing where a lot of people don't understand. When you buying a house, you're inheriting all the problems of the previous person didn't tell you about and more. So the crazy part was this. This house I'm in now, when we bought this house, the first year the AC went out. Second year had to get the roof replaced. And going into year 5, my water line bust. All 3 of those things happened. What was I to do? They have a home warranty. I didn't know about this stuff, and me doing my research, that was one thing that was neglected for me, getting a home warranty. Got that home warranty, I'm good. Anything happens with my house, I sit up there majority of the time, call the home warranty, they send somebody to check it out and fix it. But this is the thing, I would have never knew about that if nobody would have never told me, or I would have found it out. That's the thing, like I always talk about, seeking the knowledge, finding the information out. Like I said, a lot of people renting, majority of them can't afford a house. But the thing of it is, the way the rates are right now, and the way that, they kind of run it, the average person can't afford it unless they, team up with somebody. I'm seeing a lot of people get roommates. 2 people meet together and become roommates. Purchase a property, or maybe even rent a property because the income is there. The average person can't afford to buy a house or rent a house by themselves. I mean, the prices are astronomical. You would literally, what's going on, Natural Life? What's going on? You would literally have to be able to make so much money to where you wouldn't even have to rent. You just go ahead and buy. On average, most people make that much money. They would literally have to go and buy a house versus renting a house. So, like I said, going into renting, you got to make 3 times the income. I mean, you got to make 3 times the rent. So if it's $1,000, you gotta at least make over $3,000 to just to afford, you know, the just to afford it. So if you got something at $1,800 and you make $1,000 a week, you can't afford it. Yeah, my math earlier was hard, bro. Concentrate doing stuff, but basically, like I said, you can't afford it. And going into it, you know, there's a lot of ways that you can, you know, put things in perspective. Why do I have to pay? Why do I have to have 3 times the rent? You're looking at, you got to pay rent, you got to pay for utilities, and you got to pay for groceries. Not to mention any little emergency that pops up. Because on average, what they say, the average person doesn't have at least $500 saved in case of an emergency. So that goes to say if you need new tires, not even new, just used tires. You need 4 used tires. They might be $80 a piece. You know, you're tipping the scale from getting tires because you don't have at least $500. Let's say if you have a alternator starter, something needs to get put in. What's going on, bro? Let's say you need an alternator starter put in. You don't even have enough money for that. On average, you're looking at least at minimum $200 for a starter. Then you're looking at least minimum $200 to get it put on. That's minimum. You might go somewhere. People like these new cars, these Benzes and stuff. My friend is a lady he knows. I kind of know her too, just by through passing. She had an X5. She drove that car till the brakes just got to the brim. Rubbed out on the rotors. She had to pay $1,500 a wheel to get new brakes, new rotors, bleeding the line, and that came with, you know, the labor and all that. $6,000 just for a brake job. Who can afford that? Who can afford that? So when you're talking about getting a home, like, that's why they typically want you to make 3 times the amount. Then going into your credit. If they look at you can't really pay your bills because their credit is jacked up, then that's another reason why they're going to want to add more money to your mortgage. And it's going to be harder for you to buy a house that way too, because if you can't pay your creditors, 9 times out of 10, the bank is like, well, you can't pay us. Typically with the bank, their whole goal is to try to get you in the house and keep you in there for at least 10 years. That's all they need. If they get 10 years, on average, you probably be done paid for that house within 10 to 15 years. So everything else is the interest. Once you pay the house in full for 30 years, you paid that house 3 times over because the interest rate, all these other things. And a lot of people don't know about paying their house off early. You know, I've always tried to pay all my cars off early because I don't like paying these recurring charges. If I could, I would just pay my life insurance up front if I had the money. Like a lot of things, if I had the money, I would just pay it up front. You know, have a gas card, pay it up front. Don't have to pay no more gas for the whole year, something like that, you know. But like I say, the rent rates are going so crazy now, man. It's gonna be hard for people to, you know, literally get by. It's gonna be hard for people to make any moves considering, hey, what's going to be my next step? You know, on average, like I said, from the TikTok rants to, you know, social media, from YouTube and stuff, a lot of people are hitting this. They getting hit by this hard. It's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of people are not talking about it. A lot of people are not, you know, working together, dealing with family. There's no way that if your family member has a 6-bedroom, 3-bedroom house, that you can't come stay there, give them some rent, work it out. It comes to times where a lot of family members can't do that because, hey, let's face it, we're pushing back at each other. You know, you want to run somebody else's house and you don't, you know, you're staying there part-time. That's an issue. Very much an issue. Then going into the fact that, you know, you have situations to where a lot of family members that you just can't get along with them. You know, they want to run stuff. They want to tell you how to operate your house. And essentially, they just staying there part-time. You know, so it should be a point to where you have, you know, your family members come stay with you. You know, back in the day, grandma had everybody at her house. The grandmas always could do this and do that. Now, these new grandmas, they different. Nope. And I'm to the age now, I can potentially be a grandpa because my son and my daughter is about 24 and 26. So with that, they could potentially have kids now and I could be a grandpa. But at the same time, it's like letting the kids, letting family members come stay with me. I do it now, but it's something that's a headache. To a degree, it's something that's a headache because people don't respect your time. But that's it right now, man. I'm gonna go ahead and jump off of here. I'm gonna get more into it later on. But like I say, man, like dealing with rent right now is getting ridiculous. Buying a house right now, and I'm gonna stress this before I get off. Buying a house right now is the perfect time. You know why? Everybody's crying about the interest rate. You can always refinance that house. Always refinance your house. There's not a point where you can't refinance your house. As long as your house is getting some type of equity, you can refinance. And going into it, you can also lower your interest rate. I've known people refinance their house and get a better interest rate than they had 10 years ago. Then I've known people that refinance and they're not as well off. You know, the interest rate run up just a little, but they're paying a little more, but everything's good. So, but like I said, man, always with the information. Gather information. If you're going to buy a house, learn about the process in buying a house. Learn the do's and the don'ts. Do research. I talked to a guy the other day, and he was having an issue with his social media because he got a new phone with the verification, and he got a new number. So I'm like, dude, process. Go on YouTube, pull this stuff up. It will tell you how to do this. You're not the only person that's went through this. Same thing with Google. Go to Google. Google search it. You're not the only one going through this. Other people going through it. I'm telling you, time and time again. I mean, I was looking at trying to acquire a business loan to, you know, try to potentially start getting into investing. Went to Google, got the information from there, start researching. That's how I'm able to run it. And it's a process. I see I'm not ready right now, but I found information that I need to do this. But like I said, man, gather your information. We're in the age of technology where our kids are blessed to have all these things at their fingertips. We got to take advantage and use it too. We grew up, if you're, you know, millennial, 80s, late 70s to the 90s, you grew up in this technology era. So let's take advantage of the stuff we have versus always being on social media and things and being entertained. Get some knowledge. You don't always have to go to college to know things. You know, you just got to have the right mindset. And with that being said, shout out to everybody. You know what I always say when I get on here. We here, we gone. Peace.